Chapter 8 Shadows of the Past. The Iron Steed rumbled through the night, its brass and copper components shimmering faintly in the moonlight. Steam hissed softly from its exhausts as the group left Steamhaven behind, the city's flickering gaslights fading into the distance. The air was cold and still, the kind of stillness that pressed against your ears and made you hyper-aware of every creak and whisper of the world around you. Zeke sat beside Kyris in the cabin, his mind racing with fragmented thoughts. Tay was in the back, quietly observing the vast wasteland that stretched before them. Slippy, at the helm, kept a steady hand on the controls, his goggles reflecting the faint glow of the dashboard gauges. "We need to stop up ahead," Zeke said suddenly, breaking the silence. Slippy glanced at him. "What for?" "Our car's about a mile up the road. We left some supplies there before all this," Zeke gestured vaguely, his tone heavy with the weight of the past few hours. Slippy nodded, slowing the Iron Steed to a chugging halt near the roadside. "Quickly then, we can't linger too long." They stepped out into the night, the cold air biting at their skin. Zeke and Kyris led the way to a half-buried, rusted-out sedan that looked more like a relic than a vehicle. Inside, Zeke retrieved a battered duffel bag filled with tools, tech scraps, and ration packs. He tossed it into the Iron Steed before they resumed their journey. The hours passed in relative silence as the Iron Steed rolled along the cracked and barren road. Conversation slowly emerged, tentative at first but growing warmer. Tay shared stories about her life in Steamhaven, how she had dreamed of leaving but never had the means or courage. Slippy, surprisingly, revealed a softer side, regaling them with tales of his early years tinkering with machines. Even Kyris, usually sharp-tongued, softened as she spoke of her fascination with pre-collapse artifacts. For the first time, Zeke felt like they weren't just running, they were building something, a tenuous camaraderie in the face of the unknown. By the time they reached the Arizona state line, the mood had shifted. The desolation here was different, heavier, as if the land itself bore the scars of what had come before. Warning signs dotted the roadside, faded but still legible. "Hazardous area, toxic air, proceed at your own risk." Slippy pulled the Iron Steed to a stop, eyeing the signs. "Looks like we're heading into the fun zone." He reached into a compartment beneath the dashboard, pulling out 4 steampunk-style gas masks. Their brass fittings gleamed in the low light, and the glass lenses gave them an ominous, insect-like appearance. "These beauties will keep the nasties out," he said with a grin, tossing one to each of them. "Don't take them off unless you like coughing up your lungs." As they pressed on, the road grew rougher, lined with skeletal remains of once thriving subdivisions. Houses sagged under the weight of years, their windows shattered and walls scorched. It was a graveyard of a forgotten time. It was near dawn when they spotted movement ahead. A group of figures scavenged among the ruins, their silhouettes barely visible in the dim light. Slippy slowed the Iron Steed to a crawl, his hand hovering near the dashboard's lever that controlled a steam-powered weapon mounted on the side. "We stopping?" Kyris asked, her voice wary. "Better to know who's out there than to get jumped later," Zeke replied. The Iron Steed rolled to a halt, and they climbed out, gas masks in place. The scavengers noticed them immediately, their movements freezing before one of them raised a hand in a cautious wave. "Travelers, huh?" one of them said, stepping forward. He was wiry and weathered, his clothes patched together from scraps of fabric and leather. "We're just passing through," Zeke said, his voice muffled by the mask, "looking for someone who can help us." The scavenger smirked, exchanging a glance with his companions. "Help? That's a funny word around here, but if it's answers you're after, you'll want to see the Oracle." "The Oracle?" Tay asked, raising an eyebrow. "Main tent at the end of the subdivision," the man said, jerking his thumb over his shoulder. "The Oracle sees all, knows all. It's helped us survive out here." The Oracle. The tent stood at the far edge of the subdivision, larger and more ornate than the ramshackle huts surrounding it. Tattered banners fluttered in the faint breeze, and symbols painted in crude strokes adorned the canvas. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of burning incense. The room was dimly lit, save for a soft glow emanating from a console at the center of the tent. The scavengers who had escorted them knelt, bowing their heads and mumbling something unintelligible. One of them stepped forward with great ceremony and swiped a finger across an ancient tablet screen. The console buzzed to life. The glow sharpened, revealing a screen displaying a cartoonishly flirtatious blonde avatar. "Hey there, handsome," the avatar purred, winking exaggerately. "Swipe right for destiny." Kyris froze, her hand clapping over her mouth to stifle a laugh. "You've got to be kidding me," she muttered. Slippy adjusted his goggles, squinting at the screen. "This can't be real. You mean to tell me the Great Oracle is just a digital bimbo from the early 2010s? The scavengers didn't flinch. One of them, a wiry man with a solemn expression, turned to Slippy. "The Oracle speaks through her chosen vessel. She is wise beyond understanding. She's an algorithm," Zeke said flatly, waving his hand at the screen. "A terrible one at that." The avatar's cheery voice interrupted them. "Oh, sweetie, don't be so shy. Tell me about your ideal date. Long walks in toxic wastelands or candlelit dinners in radiation zones." Kyris snorted. "I can't believe you guys are taking survival tips from mismatch.com. The scavenger leader glared. "The Oracle saved us. It knew where the clean water was. It warned us about the raiders. She sees all." "Aw, you're such a tough crowd," the chatbot interrupted. "Maybe you'd prefer my premium version. Full access to exclusive prophecies for just $9.99 a month." The tent was still buzzing with the absurdity of the Oracle when a wiry scavenger spoke up again. "If you're looking for real answers, you'll want to talk to the old man in the house at the far edge of the subdivision. He doesn't come out much, but he knows things." Zeke exchanged a glance with the group. Slippy shrugged, Kyris rolled her eyes, and Tay gave a small nod. "Lead the way," Zeke said. The scavenger took them through the ruins, weaving between skeletal houses until they reached a dilapidated structure, barely standing under the weight of time. The scavenger knocked on the rotting doorframe, stepping back cautiously. "Who is it?" a gruff voice called from inside. "Travelers looking for answers," the scavenger replied, glancing nervously at the group. The door creaked open, revealing an older man with gaunt features and gray-streaked hair. His sharp eyes locked onto Zeke, widening slightly. "Zeke?" The sound of his name hit Zeke like a freight train. He froze, his heart pounding as the older man stepped out into the faint light. "It's me," the man said, his voice trembling. "It's your father." Inside the house. Once inside, the older man led them to the living room, where remnants of a bygone era cluttered the space. An ancient console sat in one corner, flickering faintly. Zeke's father wasted no time. "You've got questions," he began, his voice firm, "and I've got answers. But you need to know, this isn't just about you, it's about where you come from." Zeke swallowed hard, his pulse racing. "What do you mean?" His father's gaze softened. "Your mother's maiden name Harris. You're descended from Dr. Jacob Harris, the man who made the AGI breakthrough. The chip you're carrying, it's tied to him. It's tied to us." He paused, letting the words sink in. "This house, it was his. Your great-great-great-grandfather's. Everything started here." Zeke stared at the dilapidated walls, the weight of his lineage pressing down on him. He turned to the others, his voice resolute. "We're going to the chip plant," he said. "And we're going to finish what he started.